Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon.
Yes, welcome. Good afternoon.
Good evening, doctor.
Good evening. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, fine. How are you, doctor?
Good, thank you. Okay. Do you have any questions, anybody?
Yes, doctor, I have a question related to the project.
To the project, okay.
Yes. What should included in the study design?
What is the objective of your study together with what is your approach?
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Okay. So let me remind you once again our final exam date. Final exam, it will be on 25th of April. So it is Sunday. From 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Excuse me, doctor.
Yes, please.
This is not the time in the gate. Did you change it?
Yeah. This has been for both male and female students. A common time has been arrived at, and this is the date and time.
I'm sorry. We have one the day before, like, I think. I'm not
Yes.
sure. Because I remember, let me make sure, because I think we have a test right before it.
Before that,
Yeah.
it can be
How is that 9 Ramadan? I'm not sure, because we agreed on 9 Ramadan.
this is I think 13th Ramadan.
13?
13.
We have one on 13, the other subjects. So how we didn't agree on that? How is that possible?
No, this has been given by the female section.
Female,
Yes.
they didn't ask it. We have one, the other subject, advanced topics.
Which
On the
is
same
other
day.
subject?
Advanced topics.
What is
Level 4.
What is the course?
The name of it? Wait.
Professor, it's advanced topics in decision sciences. It's with Dr. Rashid Gahtani.
Now, do you have the course code for that?
Course code. Just a moment. It's 552.
552. I suppose it is on 18/4. Okay, let me share the screen. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, so 552. Anyway, is it the subject you are talking about?
Yeah.
So it
It's
is on
because
18/4
yes.
from. So our subject, it is 562. It is on 25 April from 9 to 11.
Yeah. Because the other subjects with Dr. Rashid, we have things to submit yet and more material to take. So he said, let's stay on the previous date, which is the same date that we have this subject on.
No, you can tell him that already this has been fixed and this is the communication you have.
You cannot
So
change it.
here, then, as per this, it is on your 552 is on 18/4. You should have on that day.
Okay, because we
Okay.
have students from level 2 and they have subjects around. So
Only 3 students. He has got only 3 students in that course. So please make sure it is on 18/4 for that subject.
Professor,
And
the 3 students are only from the female section. There's 4 more students from the male section. So it's
Anyway,
total of 7 students.
anyway, there is no overlap because the date and time given here is from 9 to 11. This is what is here. I hope you can see this.
yeah, I can see it. I know.
Okay. So I'm sticking to this.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
So it will be on 25th of April between 9 to 11. Is that also from 9 to 11? What you have got now, 552?
I'm not sure.
It cannot be because there has been no overlap here, which has been made only for, this is for the female section. So absolutely there is no problem. And for male section, that is the time, date and time it is given. So for them also there is no issues. So we will be having our exam on 25th of April between 9 to 11. Okay. So for the male students, the venue is the same room that was G99 lab. Is it clear? And for female students, very soon they will be informing it. As soon as I come to know of it, I will let you know. Are your doubts resolved? Anyone having any doubt? Okay, as you know, your deadline for submitting your assignment 2 is same. That is 3rd of April. And you will be making your project presentation maybe next week or 10th. It is left to you. Okay, maybe next week or 14th. Project presentation.
Doctor,
Yes, please.
due to the change of the finals and everything, there is no possibility to cancel the presentation. I mean,
Why-
we're gonna
why you-
submit,
why do you
the
should-
report and everything.
Why there should be any cancellation? We have sufficient time. I am giving you two options. You can make presentation next week, or you can make it on 14th.
Doctor, the previous due date was 15th of April.
14th. The previous date was 14th of April. I'm maintaining that also. And if anyone is ready with presentation, they can do it even next week. You are welcome to do that. So if you are making presentation on 7th, please send your project by 5th. If you are presenting on 14th, maybe a couple of days earlier, you must be able to submit the project. Okay. Any more doubts? Any more questions? Anybody? Yes, please. Go ahead.
All clear, doctor, no doubts.
No doubts. Good. Okay, what were we doing in the last class? What were we doing in the last class? Anybody?
Cluster analysis.
Yes. So let us continue from where we had stopped. So what did we do in cluster analysis? You remember?
K-mean clusters.
Did we do K-mean clusters? Yes. Yes.
The last class we did the K-mean. Now we will do the hierarchical.
No, it is the other way. In the last class,
Yes.
we did hierarchical cluster
Yes,
analysis.
exactly.
And now
And now we will
have
do
to
the K-means.
Yes, we have to do non-hierarchical cluster analysis or K-mean cluster analysis. So in the hierarchical cluster analysis, what happened? We started off with a group of units which have to be clustered based on certain characteristics. So we looked at the methodology of arriving at the number of clusters, both maybe using the numerical method as well as the diagrammatic representations, where we were having the agglomeration schedule, or we were making use of the dendrogram or icicle plot, and we were arriving at the total number of clusters into which the units can be grouped. So we were looking at an example. I hope you remember the example where we were looking at a group of, let us say, a situation like this, where we had a FMCG company which wanted to arrive at the clusters of their customers based on their behavior. So we considered a sample of 20 units or 20 people, and they were asked a set of 15 questions, and the replies were obtained using a 5-point scale, where 1 stands for strongly agree and 5 stands for strongly disagree. So they were asked a number of questions, and based on the questions, we looked at the application of the hierarchical cluster technique, and we have seen that there could be 4 clusters or even 2 clusters based on the dendrogram or the agglomeration schedule. This was the agglomeration schedule we had got. This was the icicle plot, and this was the dendrogram. And we have observed that there could be 4 clusters or there can be 2 clusters. So it is left to the researcher to decide whether it can be 4 clusters or 2 clusters. So the number of clusters have been decided. Let us say we have got 4 clusters. So when we look for the 4 clusters, that is our stage 1, where we have made use of the hierarchical clustering method. Now, having identified that we have 4 clusters, the second question comes, that is the second stage comes. What is second stage? We have to arrive at which are the units which are in each of these 4 clusters. So which are the units which are in these 4 clusters, and what is the characteristic of each of these clusters? So that question is answered by making use of step 2, that is making use of non-hierarchical clustering, or it is also called a k-mean clustering. Is that clear? Shall we see how to go ahead with k-mean clustering? Will you proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I have seen that there will be 4 clusters. Let us say the number of clusters is 4, and let us proceed. So in stage 2, a k-mean clustering is run with 4 cluster solution. So that which has been identified from hierarchical clustering technique. So in the given problem, the outputs of the k-mean clustering for a 4 cluster solutions are indicated. So now we proceed to our stage 2. So these outputs give us the initial cluster centers, the case listing of cluster membership, that is which are all the units which are present in each of the clusters, and the final cluster centers along with ANOVA table if you require. Let us see what it is. So if you look at your SPSS, this was our data, the cluster analysis data, and we made use of the cluster analysis technique for arriving at the number of clusters, and the output was like this, where we had got the agglomeration schedule together with the icicle, the dendrogram, and we arrived at 4 clusters. Now let us go back to our data where we are having the values for the 15 variables from 20 respondents, and make use of the k-mean clusters, where the k stands for the number of clusters. So in this example, we have got k is equal to 4. Let us look for how to proceed. Click on analyze for the same data. Click on classify. Can you see this SPSS file?
Yes.
Okay. So click on classify, and we now go for k-mean cluster. Earlier, we went for hierarchical cluster to determine the number of clusters. Having determined the number of clusters, we look for the k-mean clusters. So click on k-mean clusters. So we have got the window which looks for the k-mean cluster analysis. First thing is you have to select all the variables, 15 variables, and the number of clusters by default it has taken as 2. Now you can change it. So this is the value of k. Here we have got 4 clusters, so we can change it to 4 clusters. Very clear? So change
Yes.
number of clusters to number of clusters which we want.
4.
4. So I have typed 4 here. Okay. So look for your iterate. There is no change. Let us say maximum iterations are 10. So by default, so just look for continue. Then go to save. In the save, you can select the cluster memberships and also the distance from cluster centers. So it gives which are all the units which belong to each of the clusters and how far they are. Then click on continue. And if you come to options, in statistics, initial cluster centers, then if you want, you can select ANOVA table. We'll come back to that. And cluster information for each case. Continue, and then click on OK. We will get the output. So these are initial cluster centers where each variable is having a particular location based on the squared Euclidean distances. Anyway, we are interested in the final centers, where the final cluster centers for each of the variables. So let us go down. These are the cluster memberships. So the cluster memberships will give you which unit falls in which cluster. Say for example, the first person or the first customer, he is in cluster 1. The second customer is in cluster 1. The third one is in cluster 4. Fourth one is in cluster 4. Fifth one is cluster 4. Like this, it gives you which unit belongs to which cluster. Are you clear?
Yes, clear.
And this distance is based on the squared Euclidean distances. So what is the distance of each of the units? Okay, we'll come back to the distances for the clusters later on. So here, the most important thing is which of the units are falling under which cluster. So all the 20 units have been grouped into 4 clusters. So the membership of each of the units in each of the clusters is indicated in the cluster membership table. Then comes your final clusters. So the centers for the final clusters is given in this table, where you have got the variable 1. For cluster 1, the value for variable 1 is 1.6. The value for variable 2 is 2.4. So if you look for the 4 clusters, the 4 clusters are based on the 15 questions you have asked. Do you remember? So there were 15 questions which we were asking, and based on that, we were arriving at the data. If you remember that, let us say, what were the questions? The first question is, I prefer to use email rather than write a letter. Now note that if I say 1, it is strongly agree, and 5 stands for strongly disagree. So maybe the middle value, sometimes let us say 2.5. So if the value is below 2.5, we can say agreeable. That is, he prefers using email rather than writing a letter. Whereas if the value is more than 2.5, we can say it is towards disagreement statement. That is, he prefers the writing letters rather than using the email. Maybe if it is less than 1, it is very strongly agreeing. If it is more than 4, let us say it is strongly disagree. So the first question is based on use of email rather than writing letter. So if it is below 2.5, we can say I prefer to use email rather than writing a letter. So note that for the first cluster, if you look at the output, for the cluster 1, the variable 1 has got the center at 1.6. So what does it mean? The question is, I prefer to use email rather than writing a letter. And if the center is at 1.6, is it in agreeable state
Agree.
or disagreeable?
Yes, he prefers to write email.
Prefers, yes. So he prefers to use email rather than writing a letter. Similarly, for cluster 2, for the same question, what is the situation? The value is, the center is 3.5. So note that 3.5 is above the midway, above 2.5. So it is towards the agreeable side. So it says that, no, 3.5 is more than 2.5, it is disagreeing. So he says that I don't prefer using email rather than writing a letter, or he prefers writing a letter than the email. Are you clear? So that's
Yes.
how each one of the values gives the opinion of the particular group of people. So if you look for cluster 1 has got the center for variable 1 as 1.6, which it says is agreeable. So we can say that the people in this cluster prefer using email rather than writing a letter. Variable 2, 2.4, it is still, let us say, towards agreed, below 2.5. So the question is, I feel that quality products are always priced high. So he feels quality comes with price. Variable 3, he feels 3.6. 3.6 is disagreeing. The question is, I think twice before I buy anything. That he disagrees. So he is a impulse buyer. So these are the characteristics like this. For each of the variables, you must be able to write down the characteristic of the group, of the cluster. Are you clear?
Doctor,
Yes.
what can we say if it's 2.5 exactly?
2.5 exactly, you can say he is neither willing or not willing. So he is undecided. Equally likely, let us say I prefer writing email or writing over rather than writing a letter. So he doesn't bother whether it is an email or a letter. So he is neutral
Okay.
in that particular characteristic. Are you with me?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
So you will try to identify the characteristic of each of the cluster by looking at the cluster centers for each of the variables. Then based on that, you can identify the characteristics of that group. Maybe you can give a name for them also. Maybe cluster 1, maybe the traditional customers. Cluster 2, maybe let us say the new generation customers. Cluster 3, maybe some mediocres. It depends on the qualities of the people or in each of these clusters, which is obtained by looking at these centers. Are you clear? Any questions, please?
No, it's clear.
Okay. And the distance between the final cluster centers, it gives you what is how far each cluster is from other cluster based on squared Euclidean distances. So cluster 1 and cluster 2, the distance between them is 5.12 units, whereas between 1 and 3 it is 4.7, and between 1 and 4 it is 4.6. Means they are quite apart. So that's what it gives you an indication of the distance between each of the cluster from other clusters.
So that's mean cluster 2 doesn't agree in their opinion with cluster 1?
Yeah, the
Because it's
opinion,
high?
yeah, opinion between cluster 1 and cluster 2 seems to be totally different. Are you clear? They are different.
Yes.
So they are quite far off. So the more the distance, it is better that the clustering is much better. So you are able to identify the groups properly. They are separately grouped based on their perceptions. And finally, we had asked for ANOVA. So ANOVA results are given, but when it comes to cluster analysis, the results of ANOVA are questionable, where we use the F statistic or F test. So it is clearly given here also. The F test should be used only for descriptive purposes because the clusters have been chosen to maximize the differences among the cases in different clusters. So we are trying to maximize these centers, cluster centers. We are not trying to individually look for the differences among the values for each of the variables. Very clear? So the observed significance levels are not corrected for this and thus cannot be interpreted as tests of hypothesis that the cluster means are equal. So here actually what happens is we are testing the hypothesis for each of the variable. The hypothesis is that for the 4 clusters, the mean for variable 1 is same. That is mu1 equals mu2 equals mu3 equals mu4. For variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, for all these 15 variables. We are carrying out 15 tests of hypothesis where we are looking for the equality of means for the 4 cluster groups. Are you clear? Are you with me?
So it's like comparing either the means are equal or not?
Yes, definitely, exactly that. So if, say for example, if we look for variable 1, the null hypothesis is that for this particular variable 1, the mean for this variable is same for all the 4 clusters. Mu1 equals mu2 equals mu3 equals mu4. We have got 4 clusters. The alternate hypothesis is that all the means are not the same. So the p-value here is 0.086. Even if you consider alpha as 10%, okay, then we reject the null hypothesis. If it is 5%, we do not reject. So if you are looking for 10%, then we can say that we are rejecting the hypothesis. So the mean values for the 4 clusters for variable 1, they are different. Are you clear?
Yes.
At 10% level of significance. So we can say that, okay, the mean value for variable 1 is different. So this may be a variable which is affecting our clusters. So maybe you will try to look for this particular variable 1 and go ahead with your cluster analysis. Whereas it comes to variable 2, what happens to the p-value? The p-value is 0.4. So what is our decision? The decision is you are accepting your null hypothesis, which says that the means for the 4 clusters for variable 2 is not different. They are same, isn't it? Are you with me?
Yes.
So one group of scientists, what they feel, because the groups are same, the means are same, there is no point in considering this variable at all. It is the argument. But please don't go by that argument, because the clusters are formed based on the distances between the groups. So that's what it is very clearly explaining here. But still the argument is there that still we can use ANOVA and still we can eliminate some of the variables. So if you want to eliminate the variables, it says that variable 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all these variables where the p-value is more than 0.5 or more than 1.0, let us say if it is 10%, 0.10. If it is more than 0.10, you don't consider that variable for your cluster analysis. So you reduce your number of variables and consider only those variables which are significant in ANOVA. So that is one of the arguments put forth by some of the researchers, but many people, it is not very true. That is only one of the ways of eliminating some of the variables if you don't want.
Doctor,
Yes.
to what extent I can relate on the ANOVA since it's not adjusted to the difference?
Yeah, it is not very important to rely on this ANOVA results because it doesn't look for the characteristics of the clusters. It only looks for individual variables for the 4 clusters. So that's what is the note given here. The observed significance levels are not corrected for this and thus cannot be interpreted as tests of hypothesis that the cluster means are equal. So don't try to interpret that way. So it is not very appropriate. If you want to reduce the number of variables, maybe you can use ANOVA and the one which is having highest value, let us say 0.740. Maybe if you want to reduce number of variables from 15 to 14 in your questionnaire, then you can remove variable 4. That is one of the ways which you can make use of for eliminating some of the variables or reducing the number of variables. So first you can reduce variable 4, then the next highest value 0.415, maybe variable 2 can be reduced if you want to have only 13 questions. So which is the question which you can eliminate? If you are having such types of situations, then you can look for ANOVA results. But don't look for ANOVA results just for arriving at some decision for cluster analysis. Based on this, don't say that even at 10% level of significance, we can say that only variable 1, variable 7, 8, 9, and 12, and 15. Only these variables are significant. Others, you can say you don't want them. It is left to you as one of the researchers. If you want to reduce the total number of variables in your questionnaire, you can eliminate those ones. That is one of the things which we can use ANOVA for. But otherwise, don't use ANOVA for any other purposes or any other decision making. Very clear?
Okay, yes, clear.
And finally, here it gives the number of cases in each of the clusters. We have got 4 clusters. Cluster 1 has got 5 cases or 5 persons. Cluster 2, 6 persons, 6 customers. Cluster 3, 5, and cluster 4, 4. Totally, the 20 units have been grouped into 4 clusters. Which are these 5 units? These 5 units you will get here. These 5 units are 1, 2, 9, 14, and 15. So these are the 5 units under cluster 1. So the cluster membership gives you the details of the units in each of the cluster, and this gives you the summary. How many units are there in each of the clusters? Is it clear?
Yes.
So these are the things which are given in our slides also. Maybe you can go through that quickly. So when we have got the 4 clusters, let us look for the analysis. These are the cluster memberships. So the cases to which each of the cluster to which each of the cases belong to. And these are the final cluster centers, the same output. I have copied and pasted. And these are the distances and number of cases in each of the clusters. So the final cluster centers describe the mean value of each variable for each of the 4 clusters. For example, cluster 1 is described by the mean value for variable 1 as 1.6, variable 2 2.4, variable 3 3.6, variable 4 3.0, and so on. So we are looking at the cluster centers. The variable 1 1.6, variable 2 2.4, variable 3 3.6, variable 4 3, variable 5 3.6, variable 6 4.4, like that. So these are the cluster centers for each of the variables for cluster number 1. So now we go back to the original variables, in this case 15 statements, and interpret the clusters in terms of these 15 variables. For example, cluster 1 consists of people who are on the email rather than writing the conventional letters. So they prefer email rather than writing conventional letters because the value is 1.6, which is equivalent to agreeable. So they also agree that quality of products are always priced high. On the same variables, in cluster 2, the people showed they prefer conventional mail to email because the value is 3.5. So they're disagreeing. The people who do not necessarily associate high price with good quality because the value for variable 2 happens to be 3.3. So in this way, we compare the final cluster center values on each of the 15 variables for cluster 1 for one cluster at a time, and a complete picture of the cluster is arrived at. So for each of the clusters, look for the centers for each of the variables and interpret based on the questions which you have got. So maybe in this one, cluster 1, their email users feel quality comes at a price, not careful spenders, do not like TV much, do not think a car is necessity, do not like fast food and ready to use products. They are more health conscious today, think foreign companies have increased somewhat the efficiency of the companies. disagree that women are active purchasing decision makers, feel that politicians can play an active role. All these things are the characteristics of this particular cluster which we arrive at by looking at the cluster center. Are you clear? Similarly, you can do it for cluster 2. So regular letter writers, bargain hunters or aggressive buyers, not too particular about thinking before spending, not so great valuers of TV, believe that the car is a luxury and so on. Very clear? So it is a
Yes,
group
clear.
which likes to use credit cards, spend more freely, believe in women power, believe in economics rather than politics, and feel quality products can be cheap. Also, they seem to have a patriotic streak as they do not want to settle abroad. Similarly, for cluster 3, this is a free spending one, but health conscious, more brand loyalty to branded products, but outgoing compared to other groups, but not willing to go abroad and settle. Whereas cluster 4, it is optimistic, free spending, not a good target for TV advertising, particularly consumable durables and entertainment, but they are not necessarily influenced by brands. They may want to value for money, but if they see value, they may spend a lot. So like this, based on the situation and based on the questions you have got, you will arrive at the characteristics of each of these clusters. And maybe you can give a name for these clusters so that some people are very optimistic. Maybe a group of optimistic customers, a group of pessimistic customers, maybe a mediocre group, whatever it is, based on the situation. So in summary, the cluster analysis of this sample respondents tell us a lot about the possible segments which exist in the target population. So the segmentation of the population based on their behavior or the attitudes or perceptions can be made using the cluster analysis. Is it clear?
Yes, all clear.
So coming to ANOVA, the same table has been copied and pasted here. So you can see that for variable 1, the p-value is 0.086, variable 2, 0.415. So we are looking for the F-tests or for equality of means for 4 groups. And using ANOVA, we are looking at whether there is a significant difference in the mean for each of the variables between the 4 clusters. So that is given here. The ANOVA table tells us which of the 15 variables is significantly different across 4 clusters. The last column indicates the p-value, and if you look for a, let us say, p-value, the alpha is 10%, that is 90% level of confidence, that is 1 minus alpha, then the variables 1, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, and 15 are significant. So values less than because they have got the p-value less than 0.1. The other variables are not statistically significant as they are all having the p-values greater than 0.1. But there is a divided opinion about the utility of statistical testing for cluster analysis. Most established writers seem to feel that these tests are not valid. Therefore, it is left to the researcher's judgment whether he would like to use this in determining which variables are significant. If the tests were used, then the interpretation of clusters and differences across clusters should be only on the basis of those variables which are statistically significantly different across the clusters at 5% or 1%. So it is left to the judgment of the researcher, but generally it is not done. Maybe you can use it only for eliminating some of the variables. Is it clear?
Yes, clear.
So once you decide the number of clusters, if you decide the value of k, say this is the output when k is equal to 2, when we are using 2 clusters. So exactly similar. If you go back and if you go to analyze, classify, k-mean clusters. So instead of 4, you use 2. You make it as 2, so we'll be having the 2 cluster result. So you have got 2 clusters, and these are the cluster member shapes, and these are the cluster centers for each of the 15 variables. And we have got 11 units in cluster 1 and 9 units in cluster 2. Is it clear?
Clear, doctor.
Yes.
Doctor.
So the K-mean cluster analysis is based on the number of clusters which you have determined using your hierarchical cluster analysis. Or by chance, if you initially know the value of K, I want to divide the group into, let us say, 3 groups, 3 clusters. Then you can straight away go for the K-mean cluster analysis and put the value of K is 3 and go ahead. So this output is also given for 2 clusters, the same output. And this is your ANOVA. Okay, additional comments. We have looked at an example of classifying people. It is possible to classify objects such as brands, products, cities, etc. with cluster analysis. For example, which brands are clustered together in terms of consumer perceptions for positioning exercise? Or which cities are clustered together in terms of income or education or age profile of residents? So whatever it is, you can cluster them based on certain characteristics. And when it comes to the number of clusters, one of the main decisions of researchers is to decide how many clusters are present in the data. In certain cases, for example, we have a prior hypothesis about how many clusters ought to be present. This decision has already been made, but otherwise it tends to be a subjective decision. So note that when you are looking for the hierarchical cluster analysis, it is a bit subjective. So one of the criteria that can be used in addition to ones we have described is that every cluster must have a reasonable or minimum number of objects. So this may be one of the criteria. Let us say if you, after having 4 clusters, in one of the clusters there are only 1 or 2 units, then you can say each cluster must have at least 4 units. It is left to you. So if the number of units is less than 4, then you discard that and reduce the number of clusters. You just make it instead of 4, you make it as 3 because it doesn't have the minimum number of units in the clusters. So which means that if a cluster comes out with only 1 or 2 objects in it, look for another solution. So it may be useful to experiment with 2 or 3 possible solutions before deciding on the number of clusters. So if you have got large data, then maybe you can split the data also and carry out the cluster analysis and see what will be the number of clusters finally you arrive at. So in that sense, it is a bit subjective. Is it clear?
Yes, clear.
And when it comes to ANOVA statistical tests, as mentioned briefly earlier, some statistical tests for cluster analysis are available, but their validity is being questionable. Caution is recommended in using either ANOVA or any other tests. So a general caution about cluster analysis itself is that it tends to provide different results with different methods, and some methods are quite vulnerable to errors in data. So the stability of the clusters can be checked through splitting the sample. So you can split the sample and repeating the cluster analysis so that you can arrive at how many clusters you need to have, and based on that you can look for the K-mean cluster analysis. So this you must always keep in mind if you are in doubt when you are using the cluster analysis as a researcher. So this is about cluster analysis. Any questions, please? Before we go to the last topic, the conjoint analysis.
I think it's clear, doctor.
Okay, good. So let us proceed to the next topic, the conjoint analysis. Have you ever heard of this? Anybody?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, this conjoint analysis is a multivariate technique. If you are interested in arriving at the exact level of utility based on the various features of the products or services. What is the utility level of each of the features? Say, for example, you have got a mobile priced 400 riyal, 500 riyal, 800 riyal. So what is the utility level of this 400 riyal versus 500 riyal versus 800 riyal? So these are the three levels for your price, isn't it? Are you with me?
Yes.
So what is
Yes,
the
Doctor.
perception? What is the perception of the customer on the utility levels of these three levels of price? So can we quantify that? Can we compare it? Or maybe let us say there may be two or more characteristics, more than one characteristic with different levels for each of the characteristic. So for example, you have got the same, let us say the product. What was the product? The mobile. Okay. So mobile may be having three levels of price, and maybe the delivery periods, there may be two levels. Let us say the delivery may be within 1 week or 2 weeks. And maybe after sales response, it could be 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours. Very clear? So we have got three different characteristics. The first one with three levels, that is the price. The second one, the delivery period with two levels. And after sales service at three levels, whatever it is. So I want to know what is the utility value for each of the levels of these characteristics, so that I can look for the combination of these characteristics based on the utility values and arrive at maybe an optimal one, the best one. Is it clear? Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes, clear.
So if you have
Yes,
got a product, let us say you have got a dress. There can be utility level, there can be two different colors or three different colors. So what is the utility level of each of these colors? Or there may be different designs. There may be dark shades or there may be checks. So if you have got two types of, let us say, designs, then what is the utility level of each of these design? So that if you know these utility levels, then you can combine the utility levels. Let us say, if you have got three colors, you can select the one which has got highest utility level for color and also for design. And if you combine them, you will get a product which has got the highest utility level. Isn't it? So the conjoint analysis tries to arrive at the utility level for each of these characteristics, so that you can combine them or you can rank them and you can distinguish between the various characteristics, which is more important, which is less important, as per the perceptions of your customers. Are you clear? What is conjoint analysis?
Yes, Doctor.
Anybody having any doubt? Azhar, Fatima? Is it clear? The objective
Yes,
of
doctor.
conjoint analysis. Okay. Let us go through this, try to understand it initially, and then we can look for the example. Managers frequently want to know what utility a particular product feature or service feature will have for a customer. The conjoint analysis is a multivariate technique that captures the exact level of utility that an individual customer puts on various attributes of the product offerings. So it enables a direct comparison between, say, the utility of a price level of 400 Riyal versus 500 Riyal, or a delivery period of 1 week versus 2 weeks, or an after sales response of 24 hours versus 48 hours. So whatever may be the characteristic you are looking at the various levels, and we want to look for quantification of the utility level. So once we know the utility levels for every attribute and every level, we can combine these to find the best combination of attributes that gives him the highest utility, then the second best combination, third best combination, like that. So that is the advantage we have got when we are quantifying the utilities. So this information can be used to design a product or service so that you will maximize your sales. Are you clear?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Now, when you think of the number of attributes and the levels, so please note that don't have too many attributes and too many levels, because the number of possible combinations will increase with the number of attributes and levels. So for example, if you are looking at 3 different attributes like the price, the delivery period, and after sales service. If you have, let us say, 2 levels for price, 2 levels for delivery service, and 2 levels for after sales response, then how many possible combinations will be there? 3 attributes, each with 2 levels. How many combinations are possible? Modi? Samar? Or Sultan? I am looking at 3 attributes, each at 2 levels. Let us say 3 attributes are the price. Price may be, let us say, 1,000 and 1,500 Riyal, 2 levels. Delivery period, 1 week and 2 weeks. After sales service, 1 day and 2 days.
So 6.
6 variables.
2, 2, and 2 for 3 attributes. I'm looking at all possible combinations.
Okay.
How many possible combinations could be there?
6.
6. No.
2, 2, and 2.
18. 6. No.
2 times 2 times
Maybe
2.
9.
8. 2 times 2 times
27.
2. Well,
8 27.
8. 8.
8.
2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't it? Say if there are 3 characteristics, each at 4, 4, and 4, or 4, 3, and 2. How many will be there? 4, 3, and 2.
24.
24. 4 into 3 into 2. So note that as you increase the total number of attributes and the number of levels, the number of combination increases. So don't have too many attributes and too many levels, and only select those which are suitable for your organization, which you can fulfill. Are you clear? Because what we do is, we will offer these all possible combinations to a customer, and we will ask him to rank which is the best, which is the second best, third best, fourth best, like that. and he ranks all the possible combinations. Are you with me? So if you have got, let us say, more than 50 or 60 or 100, then there will be a lot of confusion in his mind. He will not be able to decide properly. Lesser the number of combinations, it is better. The segregation or selection or ranking will be much better. So make use of only the required number of attributes and the required number of levels, which is suitable for your organization. Clear? So that's what is given here. Let us consider that a researcher wants to determine the set of levels for 3 attributes, each with 2 levels. All possible combinations of these levels are listed, and in this case, it will be 8 possible combinations. To avoid creating masses of data, the researcher has to be careful in selecting both the number of attributes as well as the number of levels of each attribute. Only those attributes and levels must be used which are feasible offerings from the manufacturer's viewpoint. So don't look for something which you are not able to do. So look for only those which are practical. So another point of interest is that the number of combinations being offered for ranking by respondents should not be too many. For example, beyond 35 or 40, the respondents' fatigue would probably induce inaccurate or disinterested responses, and it will affect the validity of the procedure. So don't go for too many attributes and too many levels. Very clear? So
Yes,
let us
clear.
see how to
Yes,
use the
doctor.
conjoint analysis using an example. Okay, let us take an example of an industrial product, a CNC machine. Have you come across this? CNC machine tool? Computer numerical control machine tool, which is used to perform a variety of manufacturing operations. So it is computerized, and you can make use of different operations to be performed by the same machine. You can think like that. Okay. So let us say this particular CNC machine, it has got 3 characteristics or 3 attributes: the setup time, the delivery period, and number of different tools the machine can accommodate. Are you with me?
Yes, doctor.
So we have got 3 attributes which you are considering. The setup time, because before we start processing of a particular product, it has to be set up. So it takes some time for setting up. And delivery period, how long it takes for you to deliver this particular machine to the customer after placing the order. And the number of different tools the machine can accommodate. So you can make use of a number of tools simultaneously, and you can process the product. So more number of tools, if you can accommodate, you can do the job quickly. So that's what happens. So we are looking at 3 particular characteristics or 3 particular attributes. So let us assume that the 3 attributes of CNC machines are important, which are setup times. This is the time it takes to prepare or set up the machine for operations. The delivery period, this is the time the manufacturer needs to deliver after customer has placed an order. And the number of different tools the machine can accommodate. This is the measure of the machine's flexibility in performing different operations. If you have got more number of tools which it can accommodate, it is more flexible and more jobs can be done simultaneously. So let us say each one of them has got number of levels. So for example, the setup time. The setup time has got 4 levels: 3 minutes setup time, 6 minutes setup time, 9 minutes, and 12 minutes. The delivery period has 3 levels: 18 days, 22 days, and 28 days. And the number of tools which the CNC machine can accommodate is 4 or 8 or 10. So setup time has got 4 levels, delivery period has got 3 levels, and number of tools has got 3 levels. So how many combinations are possible?
36.
36. Is it clear? So these levels are the options that the manufacturer is willing to consider in designing and delivering of the machine. So only use the number of levels and the number of attributes which are possible for you to accommodate. So in this example, we have got 3 attributes and 4, 3 and 3 levels. So the total number of possible combinations will be 4 times 3 times 3. So it will be 36. Are you clear?
Yes, doctor. Very clear.
So since we have got 4, 3 and 3 levels of 3 attributes, we have got a total of 36 different combinations of attribute levels. The next stage of the input process is to collect from a respondent his rankings and arrive at the ratings, which is reverse of ranking for all these 36 combinations. So look for a customer and ask him to rank all these 36 combinations. Give rank number 1, which he prefers most. Rank number 2, which he prefers next. Are you clear? So there are all 36 possible combinations, and let us say the combinations are like this. Setup time, there are 4 levels, delivery period 3 levels, and number of tools 3 levels. So the best possible combination as per a customer is rank number 1. So it is setup time is 3 minutes, delivery period is 18 days, and number of tools is 10. So this is the best possible combination which he feels. The second best combination is 6, 18, and 10. The third best is 3, 22, and 10. So based on the perception of the customer, you are arriving at the rankings of all 36 possible combinations. Are you clear? So serial number will give you the ranking. Serial number representing the ranks as well. Are you clear? Are you with me?
Yes, doctor. It's clear.
So now rank number 1 has got the maximum rating, that is the most preferred. Are you clear? Rank number 1 is the most preferred one. So what we do is we will arrive at what is called the rating. The rating is the reverse of ranking. If it is rank 1, it must have highest rating. Rank 2, next highest rating. So the reverse of rankings will give you the ratings. Are you clear? So rank 1 will be rating 36 and rank 36 is rating 1. Is it clear to all?
Yes, clear.
We give all these options to the customer and he ranks based on his preferences. Rank 1 being the highest, what we do, we give highest rating. So what we do, the rating is nothing but the reverse ranking. So rank 1 gets the highest rating, that is 36. There are 36 possible combinations. So rank 1 has got rating 36, rank 2, the next rating 35, 34, 33, like that. So finally, when you come to rank 36, the rating becomes 1. The rank 36, the rating is 1.
Which is the least preferable option, right?
Least preferred, yes. Because this is the least preferred combination. So the rating becomes least, 1.
Yes, okay.
Now, we make use of the multiple regression analysis. We run the multiple regression analysis for arriving at the utility levels by making use of a coding for each of the attributes and their levels. We call it as effects coding. We call it as effects coding. So it is quite easy to convert the conjoint analysis input into an equivalent regression model and run it as a regression. The coding of the attribute levels for this purpose is known as effects coding. Are you clear? Anyway, we'll come to figure 2.
Yes.
So in this input data matrix, which is similar to coding of the dummy variable, okay. Now let us see how to arrive at this reverse coding, the effects coding. Now the setup time has got 4 levels: 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes, and 12 minutes. So I will call it as setup time S, S3, S6, S9, S12. Are you with me?
Yes.
So these 4 levels are coded into 3 variables: variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. The setup time, which has got 4 levels, is coded into 3 variables. For 3 minute setup time, the values I give it as 1, 0, 0. Variable 1 takes value 1, means it is setup time is 3 minutes. So 1, 0, 0 is the values for the 3 variables when the setup time is 3 minutes. When setup time is 6 minutes, I will give value 1 for variable 2, the others being 0. And setup time 9 minutes, I will make variable 3 as 1, the other variable 0. And the last variable 12, I make it as -1, -1, -1, so that the property of the coding is that all the utilities for a given attribute should add up to 0. So if you add all this, then it should become 0. 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1. So it becomes 0. Are you with me?
Yes, but
Yes, doctor.
how did we do the ranking thing?
Ranking is based on the perception of your customer. You give all 36
No.
possible.
Sorry, I don't. I mean the coding, not the ranking.
Decoding, yes.
Yes.
When we have got 4 levels, when we have got 3 levels, in this case, how many levels are there? There are 4 levels: 3, 6, 9, and 12. When we have got 4 levels, we will have 1 less number of variables, 3 variables. If there are 5 levels, 4 variables. If there are 3 levels, 2 variables. If there are 2 levels, only 1 variable. If there are only 2 levels, let us say only 3 and 6, I will give them only 1 variable, 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. The property is that the sum of the utilities is 0. The sum of the variables for all the utilities for one particular attribute is 0. Very clear?
Okay, yes, that's clear now.
So if I have got 4 levels, I will give 3 variables.
Doctor?
Yes.
Can we replace -1 by 0?
No, because if I add up, it should become 0. If you add up all these, if there is 1 here, there should be -1 for variable 1. Similarly, there should be 1, 1 and 1 -1, so that if you add, it becomes 0.
Okay, it's clear.
0, 0, 0, it becomes, it will not add up to 0, isn't it?
Yes.
So the property of giving this codification, the effects codification, is that it adds up to 0. The sum of the utilities is always 0. That's how we are coding. Are you with me?
Yes.
So this particular attribute, that is the setup time, has got 4 levels. So these 4 levels are used, or they are coded using 3 variables. So if the setup time is 3, then the values for variable 1 is 1, variable 2 is 0, variable 3 is 0. If it is 6, variable 2 has 1, others are zeros. If it is 9, variable 3 is 1, others are zeros. If it is 12, all the variables has got values -1, -1, -1. So that's how it is done, so that all the utilities will add up to 0. It will sum to 0. So for example, the second one, the delivery period. There are 3 delivery periods, 3 levels: 18 days, 22 days, and 28 days. So these 3 levels are defined using 2 variables. I already defined the 3 variables for the first attribute. So now I go for variable 4 and variable 5. So what will be the codes for 18 days? It can be 1, 0, 22 is 0, 1, and 28 will be -1, -1. So note that the sum of utilities is always 0. Very clear?
Yes, clear.
If there are 2 levels, there will be only one variable, 1 - 1, that's all. Similarly, when you are looking at the number of tools, there are three levels. So I am using only 2 variables. So I go for variable after 5, 6 and 7. So variable 6 and variable 7 define the 3 levels of the number of tools. 4 tools, 8 tools and 10 tools. So the codification can be 1, 0, 0, 1, -1, -1. So once again, they add up to 0. So the 3 attributes and all the levels, I am using variables 1 to 7. Very clear?
Yes,
Are you with
clear.
me? Only
Yes.
coding is done.
Yes.
Effects coding. The property is that the sum of the utilities for each of the attribute will be 0. When once you do this, now you start entering the data or you create your worksheet. So for example, the first, what was our rank 1, where the rating was 36, the combination was, setup time was 3, delivery period is 18, and number of tools is 10. So we go for setup period is 3, means for variable 1, the value is 1, for variable 2 it is 0, variable 3 it is 0. And when it comes to delivery period as 18 days, variable 4 is 1, variable 5 is 0. And the number of tools is 10, means -1, -1 for variable 6 and 7. And I put the rating as my other variable, let us say variable 8. Variable 8 will be my rating, that is the reverse ranking. Are you with me?
Yes.
So that's how I arrive at the data sheet. The 7 variables, variable 1 to 7 are used to represent the 4 levels of setup time, 3 levels of delivery and 3 levels of number of tools. All the 7 variables are independent variables in our regression run. So these 7 variables, 1 to 7, I make use of as my independent variables. And variable 8 is the rating. Rating is the reverse ranking. So that is my rating, which is variable 8. That will be my dependent variable. Variable 8 becomes my dependent variable. Are you clear? The rating from 36 to 1, the reverse order. So now if the conjoint analysis is run as a regression model, the rating, which is the reverse of ranking, is used as independent variable, and all combinations of the first to 36th were ranked by the respondent. Rank 1 can be considered as highest rating, given rating 36, rank 2 as 35, and so on. So this is the data sheet which I will be having. So let us say variable 1, 1, 0, 0, that is for the setup time, where setup time is 3 minutes. Then variable 4, 5, I am using as 1, 0. 1, 0 gives me the delivery period as 18 days. And variable 6, 7 is -1, -1, which gives me the number of tools as 10. And the rating, the rating, which is reverse of ranking, is 36. So like this, I write down for all the ratings starting from 36 to 1. Are you clear?
Yes. So this coding should be done manually, right?
Yes, this coding has to be done manually,
Okay.
depending on the number of factors and the number of
And attributes.
levels for each of the factors.
Okay.
When once you do this, make use of variable as your variable 8, that is your rating, as your dependent variable, and variables 1 to 7 as independent variables. So this data is given in conjoint analysis.sav. So let me open the SPSS file. So this is the SPSS file where I have got variables 1 to 7 for the 3 attributes, and variable 8 is my rating. reverse ranking. So I have got 36 values. Is it clear how it is created? Any questions, please?
Yeah, I think it's clear, but we need to practice the coding.
So now you look for our regular linear regression, go to regression, linear, and your dependent variable is your rating, variable 8. So this is your dependent variable, and all the remaining 7 variables will be your independent, and I just want the output. In fact, I don't need anything else. I just can click OK, you will get the output. So I'm interested in these coefficients. Are you clear? I am only interested in the coefficients, nothing else. These coefficients will give you the utility values, the utility levels. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
So the utility level for variable 1 is 5.5. For variable 2, 4.167. Variable 3, minus 1.056. Variable 4, 3.33. Variable 5, 1.25. Variable 6, minus 10.3. And variable 7, 1.58. So this output is given here in your So if you run a regression model using SPSS, the partial output is given in figure 3. This is your output. The partial output. I am interested only in the coefficient. Even I am not interested in this constant. I am interested in the values for variables 1 to 7. Are you clear? Now let us look
We're
at
interested in column B only, right?
only in unstandardized coefficient B, and the two for variables 1 to 7. These are the utility levels for each of these variables.
Okay.
Now let us look at the first attribute. What was the attribute? It was the setup time. We were having 4 setup times, isn't it? 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes, 12 minutes. Variable 1, what was variable 1? This is 5.5, the utility for this particular part, that is for 3 minutes setup time. It is 5.5. Are you with me? Because if you look for 3 minutes, how was your coding done? The coding for the 3 minutes is based on variable 1 is 1, variable 2 0, variable 3 0, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes, right.
So 1 0 0 means this is 5.5 is the part utility for the 3 minute setup time. Similarly, for 2 minute setup time, the utility is 4.167, and variable 3 stands for 9 minute setup time, minus 1.056. Are you clear?
Yes.
Now, what is the utility for 12 minutes? This is for 3 minutes, this is for 6 minutes, this is for 9 minutes. So what about 12 minutes? How do you get it?
3.3.
No, this is variable 4. This goes to 18 days delivery.
We add them together.
We make use of the property that, how did we code them? Effects coding. The sum of the
Sum of utility equals 0.
is 0. So for 12 minutes setup time, what will the sum of 5.5, 4.16 minus 1.0, and also for 12 minutes, they should add up to 0. Are you clear? Are you with me?
Yeah. Yes.
So what will be the value? it will be 5.5 plus 4.1 minus 1.0. The negative of that. Whatever value you
Yeah,
get,
the
you
opposite
change the sign.
Yes.
Very clear? So 5.5 plus 4.1, let us say it is 9.6 or 9.7, 9.7 minus 1. So it will be 8.6.
8.57.
So it will be negative 8.6. So that if you add these three and negative 8.6, it becomes 0. That is the property. That's how we have coded. Are you clear? Are you with me?
Yes, doctor. Yeah, it is clear.
Yes, clear.
So similarly, what is variable for? It is for delivery. For 18 days delivery, it is 3.3. For variable 5 is 22 days delivery. And what about 28 days? So you take 3.3 plus 1.2, take negative of that. Because if you add all the three, it should be 0. So it may be 4.5 something. So negative of that, negative 4.5. Are you clear?
Yes.
So that's how you determine the utility levels for each of the attributes and their levels, the utility values. Similarly, using this 6 and 7, we look for the utilities for the number of tools. For 4 tools, it is minus 10.3. So 7 stands for 8 tools. So for 10 tools, it is you add them and take negative. Are you clear?
Yes.
Yes, very clear.
So that's how you get the part utilities. So that's what is given here. So 1 to 7 are treated as independent variables. The column titled B, unstandard regression coefficients in the output provides the part utility of each level of attribute. For example, setup time for S3, that is 3 minutes, is represented by variable 1 and its utility is given by 5.5. Similarly, for variable 2, it is 6 minutes. It is 4.16. Variable 3 represents 9 minutes setup time. It is minus 1.05. So the utility of the fourth level, that is 12 minutes of setup time, is not in the table, but is derived from the property of this coding. That is, all utilities for a given attribute will sum up to 0. So that's the utility for 12 minutes should be equal to negative of the sum of that, or minus 8.61. Are you clear?
Yeah.
So similarly for others. So finally, you can arrive at this table. So if you have got the attribute setup time in minutes, 3 levels, and these are the part utilities. 5.5, 4.2, minus 1.1. So it, for the remaining, by making use of the property, it will give minus 8.6. Similarly, for delivery periods, we have got 3 levels, 18 days, 22 days, 28 days. 3.3, 1.3 is there in our output. For 28 days, the utility will be negative of the sum of this, so minus 4.6. So all these things must add up to 0. This 4 should add up to 0, these 3 will add up to 0, and these 3 will add up to 0. So the utility levels for the number of tools, 4 tools minus 10.3, 8 tools 1.6, this is there in the output. So we derive the utility level for 10 tools as negative of the sum of this, it is 8.7. So if you look at these part utilities, which has got the highest utility level? When it comes to the setup times, the highest value happens to be 5.5, that is
3 minutes.
3 minutes. So coming to delivery period, the highest value is again 3.3. So it is 18 days. And looking at the flexibility, the highest value is 8.7, that is for 10 tools. So the maximum utility is for this combination. It is for 3 minute setup time, it is 18 days delivery and 10 tools. Are you clear? And what is the value of utility? You can add all these three. 5.5 plus 3.3 plus 8.7 will give you the total utility value for this combination of the 3 attributes. Are you clear?
Yes.
That will be the highest value. the maximum. That is the best combination which the customer wants. Now, you can arrive at the range of utilities. That is, if you consider the setup time, for setup time, what is the range of utilities? It is the difference between the maximum and the minimum value. The maximum is 5.5 and the minimum is minus 8.6. So take the difference between 5.5 and minus 8.6, it is 14.1. Are you clear? So the range of utilities for setup time is the difference between the highest and the lowest values of utilities for this range. So it will be 14.1. Similarly, for
Doctor?
delivery period, yes, please.
For the negative ones, can we explain it in terms of utility or not?
It is having it is only relative values, utilities. The highest,
Okay.
the maximum and the minimum and the associated value, that's all.
Okay, yes, I see.
Are you clear?
Yes, clear.
And the range of utilities, you can see the range of utilities happens to be 14.1 in the case of setup time. And in the case of delivery, once again, 3.3 minus 4.6 is 7.9. And in the case of number of tools, it is 8.7 minus 10.3, that is 19.0. So if you look at the range of utilities, it looks like the number of tools happens to be the most important attribute which the customer is interested in, because the range of utilities happens to be highest, as well as the value for utility also happens to be the highest. So you can say that from the customer point of view, the number of tools is the most important attribute which has got the highest range of utility together with the highest part value, part utility value. This is followed by the next range of utilities, that is for setup time. So the next important attribute for the customer is setup time, and thirdly, he is interested in the delivery period. Are you clear?
Yes, clear.
So that's how we look for the range of utilities and also for the individual utility values. So using this, we can look for the combination. Say, for example, if you are looking for a combination of setup time to be 3 minutes, delivery time to be 18 days, and number of tools to be 4. So what will be the total utility? It will be 5.5 plus 3.3 minus 10.3. So that is the total utility value of this combination of S3, D18 and T4. So for any given combination, you can arrive at the total utility value. And if you arrange them in a decreasing order, the highest total utility value is the most preferred product which the customer is expecting. The next one is the next preference. The third one is third preference. Look for the combinations of the values for the 3 attributes. So we can rank the combinations also, which the customer prefers. Are you clear?
Yes.
Yes, clear.
And what is the change in utility from one level to another level? That is also obtained here. Say, for example, if you change your setup time from 3 minutes to 6 minutes, the change in utility, it drops from 5.5 to 4.2. The difference in the utility values will give the drop in the utility level from changing from one level to another in each of the attributes. Similarly, the delivery period, if you change from 18 days to 22 days, the difference in the utility value is 2 units. From 3.3, it goes down to 1.3. Are you with me? So that's how you will be interpreting the utilities for each of the levels of the various attributes. Any questions?
That's clear, Doctor.
No.
Okay. So these are explained here. With the POT utilities for every level of all the attributes now available with us, we can come to several conclusions. Firstly, we can conclude that the machine flexibility is most important attribute for the customer, because we have seen that the machine flexibility, that is number of tools, the range of utilities happens to be the maximum. So there are two indicators for this. One of these is the range of utility values, which is the highest, 19 for number of tools. And the second one is the highest individual value of utility for any level is for 10 number of tools. It is 8.7. Are you clear? As I told you, the one is this one where we have got the range of utilities to be 19 as compared to 14 and 7.9. And if you look for the individual POT utilities, you can see that the flexibility happens to be the most important attribute for the customer. So both these figures indicate that the number of tools is most important attribute at a given level of attributes. The setup time seems to be second most important attribute, as the range of utilities is 14.1 as shown in the above table, and the last attribute in relative importance is the delivery period with the utility range as 7.9. Now you can combine the utilities. We can also pick up one attribute level from each of the attribute and combine their POT utilities to calculate the total utility of the combination. For example, S3, that is 3 minutes of setup time, and D18, which is 18 days delivery period, and T4 means 4 number of tools, has a combined utility of, you just add the values 5.5, 3.3, and for T4 it is minus 10.3, so it is just 1.5. Similarly, if you look for S3, D22, T14, the combined utility is minus 3.5. So for each of the combinations, we can arrive at the combined utility for those combinations. So if we want the best combination, we pick the highest utilities for each of the attributes. So in this case, the highest utility is for S3, D18, and T10. And the highest utilities happen to be 17.5. Add these three values. The next best combination, S6, D18, T10. So the value happens to be 16.2. So like this, you can rank the combinations based on their utilities. Are you clear?
Yes, clear.
And as I told you, individually within an attribute, you can look for the differences which will happen when you change from one unit to one level to another level within the attribute. Say, for example, if you change setup time from S3 to S6, what is the change in the utility level? So we can also check what difference in utility a change of one level in one attribute makes. For example, S3 to S6, that is setup time is changed from 3 to 6 minutes. Then this induces only 1.3 units drop in utility. 1.3 units drop, why? For S3, we have got the value as 3.3, and S3 it is 5.5, and S6 it is 4.2. So 5.5 minus 4.2, the difference is 1.3. So there is a drop of 1.3 utility value. So, but it gets progressively more at the next stage, that is between S6 to S9. So if you change your setup time from 6 to 9, so for 6 it is 4.2, for 9 it is minus 1.1. So the difference between these two becomes 4.2 minus of minus 1.1, it is 5.3. So if you change from S3 to S6, the drop is only 1.3. And if you change from S6 to S9, the drop is 5.3. So it is dangerous. Don't go for a sudden change from S6 to S9. If you cannot do S3, setup time 3, you at least go for setup time of 6. Don't jump to 9. That's what it means. Similarly, increasing the delivery period from 18 to 22 days, it costs you 2.0 units in the utility drop. whereas from 22 to 28, the drop is 5.9 units. And finally, the number of tools causes a drastic change in utility of 11.9 units from 8 to 4 tools, and a significant drop of utility of 7.1 units from 10 to 8 tools. So like this, you can arrive at the change in the utility when you are changing your level for each of the attributes. So based on all this information, you can arrive at the best combination or the most feasible combination for your product or service. And you can choose those levels of the attributes. So that's how you can arrive at a strategy for satisfying the requirements of your customers and arrive and maintaining the optimum levels of utility for each of the levels of the attributes you have got. Very clear? So this is about the conjoint analysis, where you are looking at the various attributes and the levels of each of the attributes and making use of the codification, where we call it as effects coding. We transform the problem into a multiple regression analysis, and we make use of the regression analysis using SPSS to arrive at the various part utilities for all the levels of the attributes. Is it clear, please?
Doctor, can I ask you?
Yes, please.
The final will be multiple choice.
Yeah, the final will be multiple choice, very similar to your midterm exam, where I'll be giving you the outputs or the relevant outputs from the SPSS analysis for the questions, and we'll be making use of them for answering the multiple choice questions. We will have, let us say, 30 questions for 2 hours and 40 marks.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll have 30 multiple choice questions.
And Doctor, all the chapters with us in the final?
Yes, all the chapters are there for the final. Starting from multiple regression till and including the conjoint analysis.
Doctor,
Yes, please.
I have a question about the assignment.
Yeah.
The first part, the factor analysis.
Yes.
The one I didn't understand it quite well.
First question.
No, 1.5, determine the factor structure of this scale and make recommendation regarding the inclusion and exclusion of items from each scale. So this is based on the rotated.
I'm more interested in the factors and what are the items included in each of the factors.
So I have to say factor 1 contains these items and that.
Yes, that's all.
So it's based on the rotated.
Yes, what are
it's
the
based
items?
on the rotated factor matrix, right?
You are right. You are right.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Based on rotated factor matrix, you look for which are the items under each of the factors.
What about the recommendations? How can I?
That is, recommendation is based on the loadings.
Yeah, if we have different loadings, but I think in this assignment we don't have.
Okay, so if there is any loading which is having multiple loadings, in that case, you can write which is having the one which is having the higher loadings has been considered for this particular, let us say, units.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Doctor, can I ask you, the final will be 30 questions or 40?
30 questions. 30 questions, 2 hours.
Okay.
So each question carrying 1.33 marks.
Doctor,
Yes.
in the assignment, the part one, the first
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
is the problem suitable for factoring? Did
Yes.
you mean that it's valid?
Yes, it is. Whether it is valid, and you will be making use of the correlation matrix and looking at the correlations. If like the number of correlations, there are many correlations more than 0.3, then you can say that it is suitable for factoring, isn't it?
Yeah.
So look for your correlation matrix.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other question?
Doctor,
Yes.
about the presentation, can we just do a detailed report without doing the presentation? Because we already have a lot of assignment projects to do, and we don't have enough time to study for the finals as well.
It is okay, but you are making your project, isn't it? And once you are making the project, your presentation is almost there. In fact, if you are not making any PowerPoints, it doesn't matter. I just want the gist of the project. What you have done, what is the purpose of your project, how you have gone about, and what is the highlights of your analysis and your conclusions. That you can present in about 10 minutes. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So that doesn't require any additional efforts from your side. That's what I feel. So whatever you have done in your project work, you just present it. Even if you are not using PowerPoints, it doesn't matter. Same project report, you can highlight it and just present what is done there. I am more interested in what you have done, the quality of your work, not in the aesthetics. Will it be okay? So you need not spend any time on that. So whoever is ready, maybe, so we are through with our syllabus. So next week, 7th of April, we have got 7th and 14th. So any group, if they want to present, they can present even next week, 7th. You are welcome. Yes.
If we are going to present the next week, when should we submit the last?
At least 1 day earlier.
At least
Maybe
1 day
6th.
earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe even 6th. I will give you up to 6th. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes. Any other questions, please?
Doctor?
So please yeah. Please tell me.
One member of a group is enough to doing presentation, or should all of us?
No, even one member is enough, but questions can be asked to anybody in the group. So all the members in the group should know what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, anything else? Any other questions? So please make sure that and be informed that the final exam will be on 25th of April, Sunday from 9 to 11, and it will be face to face. So the mail will be coming to the same room, G99, lab G99, ground floor G99, and the exam will be very similar to our midterm. You will find your exam in your course content exactly at 9 a.m. and please be there well before the time, and females in the female campus. use the lab's computers. You can use your calculators. You can bring additional paper. I think that's all. And please don't miss it because it is the final exam. No excuses. If you are not attending, you are not passing.
Inshallah.
Okay. So you have got sufficient time, more than almost 25 days. So prepare well, do well. I'm sure you will be able to do well. And we'll meet again next week, same time. And I will wait for any of the presentations if you have got. And maybe any other questions. Yes. Anything else you can do today?
Doctor, in the assignment
Yes.
for the factor analysis, if we look at the correlation matrix, we
Yeah.
found that 5 items out of 13 are greater than 0.3, and the
Okay.
rest are less than 0.3. So is the factor analysis is suitable?
Okay, but if you look for the correlation matrix, if there are not many, then you may make that as a point. So where there are not too many correlations. Okay.
Mhm. So if the items are less than the half of the numbers, so it is not suitable for the
But you
factor
have
analysis.
got, but actually you can make use of the Bartlett's test of sphericity, isn't it? So this is only looking at the values in the correlation matrix, but the suitability of that is more appropriately answered by making use of the Bartlett's test.
Yeah, this is the second question.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that is the second question. Okay. So
Yeah,
maybe
so-
incidentally, if the number of correlations are less, it doesn't matter. Okay. You can say it may not be useful for practice.
So could be not suitable and at the same time is valid.
No, at the same, you cannot say it is valid in that case.
Okay.
Anti-image correlations. One. How come there are only less than 3 or 4? You said, isn't it?
It's 5.
5. You are looking at which one? The anti-image correlation?
The first question.
Yeah, first question, the output.
Yeah, the correlation matrix.
Okay. I think there are quite a few. Okay, please check that. Please check that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, any other question, please?
Yes, doctor, I have.
Yes.
In the part 2 of the assignment, is the assumption of equality of covariance is violated. How can I know that exactly?
Anybody who can help her?
It's by the test results, right?
Which test?
The box M.
Yes, you have to make use of the box M test.
Yeah, so it's okay if it's violated, but the discriminant analysis is valid.
Yes, it is still valid. In multivariate techniques, it is very difficult to get situations where all the assumptions are satisfied.
So it's okay if one assumption is not satisfied.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Maybe
doctor.
it may not be very efficient, but still we can make use of that.
Thank you,
But
doctor.
what is the accuracy of classification?
What do you mean, doctor?
What is the accuracy level which you get, the classification, the discriminant function?
The discriminant function.
Though one of the assumption has not been satisfied, model is good, then there is no problem. You can go ahead.
You mean, doctor, the correlation that we square it?
No. The accuracy of classification. If you make use of the data which is given, and if you use the discriminant function, and if you classify based on the data, whatever you have.
Oh, yes. I got it 100%.
Yeah, so it is, if it is 100%, then it is a very good model. Though
Okay, but I was a bit confused because it gave me it's a valid test, but later on the assumption was violated, so I thought it's not okay.
The assumption has been violated, no doubt, because in multivariate analysis, what happens is one of the general assumptions is that the variables follow multivariate normal distribution. The normal distribution is associated with what type of variable? Normal distribution is associated with a continuous variable, isn't it?
Yes.
But most of the variables which we come across in multivariate analysis, they are mostly in the interval scale.
Yeah, right.
Isn't it? Likert scale types of questions.
Yes.
So sometimes the argument is that it is not even continuous. So leave apart the assumption of normality, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's still valid, like you said.
But still it is. These are the techniques which are still have common applications. There are no other techniques which can be used for such type of data, and the ideal situations will never occur in our real life situations. The theory is based on the ideal situation, but nevertheless it can be applied, and these are the only techniques, multivariate techniques, which we can use. In the absence of this, we cannot make use of any of these factor analysis or discriminant analysis or any other types of analysis.
Thank you, doctor. I got it.
Yeah. Yes. Any questions? Any more? Anybody, please feel free.
Thank you, doctor.
Okay, we have got next week also, next to that also, 7th and 14th. If you have got any doubts, anything, you can always discuss in those sessions. So maybe for today, we can stop here. And please make sure to submit your assignments on time, and also to make your project submissions on time. And prepare well for the final exam, which is on 25th. And all topics are there for the final exam. Okay, we'll stop here for today.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Okay, thank you.